Hello, everyone, and welcome to this festive Thanksgiving Condish retrospective. Last time we talked about the Munsters, and here we're talking about planes, trains, and automobiles.
So we go from a movie that had just come out that we didn't really know how to feel. We didn't hate it. We didn't love it. We had our issues with it. We actually had some things we enjoyed, but a movie that, and now we're going from that to a movie that while you grew up with, I didn't grow up with. I got into this movie later in the game, in late teen, early adult, but it became a movie that once I saw it for the first time, it was required viewing at least once a year, even if it was not Thanksgiving. It's one of those kinds of movies that even though it's technically a holiday movie, you really don't feel like you have to watch it at that holiday. But when Thanksgiving rolls around, you definitely want to watch it.
Yeah, I grew up watching this movie. It was this in Dutch.
I've never seen Dutch.
That's pretty good.
That's another John Hughes movie.
I prefer this one over.
I think it is.
We watched it on. I watched it on Paramount.
I did as well.
But I've owned it on DVD. I don't know where the DVD is. I thought I did, so I replaced it with Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins. It's got a family, so I assume this is my mother's DVD. I assume it's a holiday movie because it's a family dinner thing.
And these two movies have a turkey in it.
Yeah, Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving 3. Yeah. So that's us being festive decoration here.
By the way, there's no Thanksgiving 2. That's the joke.
Yes.
I'm not laughing either.
Yeah. So we're here talking about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles from 1987. John Hughes.
And you talk about an era of John Hughes, writer, director, who I found out did not direct as many of those movies he wrote as I thought he did. But you talk about you're talking about God, Home Alone. The first two Home Alone movies. I think he did the third one, but some people don't like that one.
He wrote it. Okay.
He wrote it.
Yeah.
You got Great Outdoors.
We talked about it.
Great Outdoors.
You can check out Home Alone 3.
Uncle Buck. I think he wrote the original Beethoven.
I love Beethoven.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Great movie.
Good Lord, The Breakfast Club. Pretty
we don't have
Hanks.
to do this because everyone knows.
But what I'm saying is, you're in that line of just quality writing and directing when he directed, and then you get this movie that while it's one of those movies that everyone loves, but when it comes to the John Hughes talk of what's the best John Hughes movie, somehow this movie never makes the cut when it comes to that. People talk about this movie as being good, but I'm always surprised when people talk about great John Hughes movies. This never comes up for some reason.
Oh, for me it does. To me, it's
for me as well.
This is my favorite John Hughes film.
I can't say it's my favorite, but it's definitely top 5.
It's my favorite directed John Hughes film. It stars Steve Martin as Neil Page, and John Candy as Del Griffith, not Del Preston from Wayne's World 2.
Yeah, whenever we were talking about the movie, we'd keep forgetting what Del's last name was, and we kept wanting to say Del
I just kept wanting to say it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. We kept wanting to say Del Preston because we're also big Wayne's World fans, and but that's a different story altogether.
So this to me is the quintessential classic odd couple movie and road trip movie.
Yes.
It's a combination of both that you'll see in other movies like Tommy Boy or Black Sheep. Let's just be real. Tommy Boy and Black Sheep, Chris Farley and David Spade took a lot from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, in my opinion.
I can see where you're coming from.
From the destroyed car to...
That's
to sleeping in the same hotel room shenanigans, stuff like that.
Well, at least they didn't share a bed.
No, those aren't pillows. But yeah, if you haven't seen Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, you have to. It's great. There is a 4K release they did that apparently has 75 minutes of deleted scenes.
Yeah, apparently
we don't have that, so we didn't see it.
Yeah, apparently there is a scene in which John Candy eats a hot dog while smoking a cigarette, and it is apparently iconic.
Yeah, I saw a clip on Twitter on it, and it was a scene when they're sitting at the airport before they go on the plane.
Yeah, because it wasn't because he had to try to make up for the cab. He was like, can I get you coffee? Can I get you this?
Was it a Lifesaver?
Lifesavers.
Yeah.
Something.
A tea.
Tea, yeah.
There's
but it's about that time.
Yeah, I think before we get into just talk about the movie in general, we have to go through some cameos that happened.
A lot of cameos. There were a lot of people.
Kevin Bacon, uncredited.
Yeah,
cameo.
But
you knew it was him.
Yeah, oh yeah. That one always catches me off guard. I always forget Kevin Bacon is in that movie.
Michael McKean is the state trooper.
As the state trooper.
Dylan Baker as Owen.
Owen was.
He was the.
The trucker.
Yeah.
The one that drives them.
Yeah. With
the wife who's short and skinny but strong
because she gave birth.
She's small, she's skinny, but she's tough, man. Our son came out sideways. She ain't cry or nothing.
Yeah.
So like, how do you come up with
Edie McClurg, sorry. She was the car rental lady.
Oh yes.
And also I bet she didn't think that Neil Page was a righteous dude at all.
No, she is iconic.
And that's an iconic. For that movie. That's an iconic scene. Is the car rental scene?
Actually, that's my favorite scene in the whole movie.
Not mine. Well, I'm gonna get to mine soon.
Yeah.
Larry Hankin as Doobie. He plays the cop in Home Alone that eats the donut.
Yes.
And it gets on the phone.
The male cop at the station.
And also Matthew Lawrence is in it.
Yes, as one of Neil's kids.
Yes, little Neil, I think.
Neil Jr.
Neil Jr.
One of them, because there was 2 boys and a girl, right?
The boy, it was 2 boys.
One of them was Neil Jr.
The little baby toddler was not little Neil. But yeah, that's pretty much, the cast is mostly those 2, and they go on a plane, they go on a train, they go on a bus, a car,
several automobiles,
a tractor trailer, all kinds of stuff they've been on. It's just so good because I think a lot of people forget how good Steve Martin is because he has done that new show of Martin Short and Selena Gomez. I've not watched it. It's on Hulu.
Right.
Apparently it's really good. It's Steve Martin and Martin Short's gonna be good.
Steve Martin Short.
Yeah. So people forget about Steve Martin because he was fun and Cheaper than a Dozen movies, but like you think of The Jerk, you think of
obviously you think of this.
Father
of the Bride,
Little Shop of Horrors.
Was it Roxanne? I think it was called
Roxanne.
The movie where he's got the long nose.
Roxanne.
You think of. You just think of a lot. There's a lot of other like stuff. You even think
Three Musketeers.
Or Three Amigos.
Three Amigos. Sorry, not Three Musketeers.
Yeah, Three Amigos.
Which based on Three Musketeers.
Which also has Martin Short.
Yes.
There you go.
And another comedian that we don't really want to talk about.
I don't know who he's talking about, but all right.
Chevy Chase.
Oh, well, you just talked about it.
There we go.
I thought we just said we didn't want to talk about it.
Shut up. So anyway, and also John Candy, who was just classic.
Oh my God, John Candy. To me, this role is like a great example of just John Candy's range as a character. Because what's great about Del is he can be the most lovable, likable guy you'd ever met. He can be the most annoying guy you ever met. And sometimes he can be a jerk. He can definitely come off like a jerk, like when he takes the cab. When you first meet him, like, because you're maybe not rooting for Neil, but you're definitely like, you can relate to him.
Sympathize.
You can sympathize with him because, he just wants to go home for Thanksgiving. That's all he wants. And like to have this moment where he's trying to catch this cab. He finally catches his cab.
He bought one.
And then this guy just swoops in from right under his nose. So you don't exactly meet him. You don't exactly meet Del under the best circumstances.
But Del does come off as he did not know that was his cat.
And that's what I'm saying.
It's genuine.
Like, he just has this range where he can go from like being like the nicest guy to like the most annoying guy to kind of a jerk because he's a very open, honest person. Like in that speech he gives, which is also to me one of the best
I like me
speeches that you can give. Yes, the I like me speech. Like, and
my wife likes
and oh God, and don't get me started on the thing with his wife.
We're gonna get to that.
But I'm saying this is John Candy at his best
to me,
and I'm surprised he didn't take more roles like this where he could go in different places.
To me, Del Griffith is one of the most endearing characters in cinema history. You feel for him. Like what's great is like you can but it's like he's so genuine, but you also can feel. It's such a tightrope that John Hughes does where John Candy isn't too insufferable, and Neil isn't too much of a jerk.
And also,
you kind of see both of them and both their positives and negatives, and it's never overboard on either one. Maybe the Dell's slobness in a hotel with the towels and the
socks,
and the sink,
and the underwear.
Yeah, and breaking the bed and breaking the seat.
Oh, the beer.
Yeah, stuff like that. Like, it goes a little far into it, but it's also a comedy, so you kind of have to do those beats.
And also, like, it also just plays to John Candy's strength as like like an actor who just, there's a warmth about him. Like, when you see him in roles, like, there's not very many John Candy roles where like he shows up and you're just like you feel bad, or like you're like, oh, I don't really want John Candy here. Like, every character, even something as small as his role in Home Alone, there's a warmth about him that he just always had when he did a lot of these roles, and I think that really helps with the Dell character. Like, I don't know how very many people that could do that role as good, or even just the way he could do it.
And don't forget about Nothing But Trouble.
I'd like to forget about that movie. I'm sorry, I don't like that movie.
I love that movie. It's so fun.
I don't like it.
It's so stupid. Anyway, and Demi Moore is very attractive in that movie.
I'm not going to deny that.
And also, Naughty by Nature is in it.
And
Tupac's
in it. Yeah.
Come on, and Dan Aykroyd has a penis on his nose.
The less we say about that, the better.
Anyway, my favorite scene, and follows also Del Griffith, is the Ray Charles mess around, aka you're driving the wrong direction. That whole sequence.
Oh God,
is my favorite scene of the entire movie. It makes me laugh so much. Is the whole mess around thing, and then little things I notice. I notice it because I watched it on Paramount on a 4K TV. Is I never noticed when they're like, when he's driving the wrong direction, you see the smoke from the cigarettes coming out from the back seat.
I never noticed that either.
I didn't notice it either, but when you see it on like a big 4K TV, you're like, oh wow, that's like, you can see the smoke behind it while they're doing the scene.
Right.
And then of course when they hit those trucks.
The trucks. And it's like, first they're the skeletons with the eyeballs, and then Neil looks over, and he's just like, all of a sudden, Dell's the devil, he's just like laughing, and just that maniacal laugh. It's so good.
And there's also, there's so many great jokes in this movie that it's just so funny. Like, there's lines like, how cold is it? One, that makes me laugh. You had one where like, that, I guess he's a airport or a car rental supervisor, the guy that grabs Neil by the nuts.
Oh yes. So the one scene that always gets me, and it's not what he says, it's how he says it. So there's a point where Neil tries to rent the car. He doesn't. They drop him off. There's no car. He makes a stink at the office. So, and then he's like, whatever. So he leaves. And the guy, he gets into it with the guy who's, I guess he's like helping him load the stuff. And so he punches, Neil says something, I think he says something like, if I wanted a joke, I'd follow you to the John to watch you take a leak. Or something like that.
Yeah.
And then the guy punches him out. And Del shows up and almost hits him with his car. And so the guy's like, Del's trying to get the guy to help, and he's refusing. And he goes, "What is your problem, you insensitive asshole?" And it's just like, anyone else could have said, "What is your problem, you insensitive asshole?" But like, the pomp and the pronunciation, because I don't think he ever said anything like that until that moment. He's like, "You insensitive asshole." It's like he was so angry he had to enunciate. That's the genius of this movie. It's not always what is said. It's how it's said. And I think that's a key to comedy that gets overlooked.
And all
I think
can
a lot
say
nowadays.
is 3 coins in a fountain. It's just a lot. There's a lot of great bits, a lot of comedy, but also a lot of heart.
Yes.
Spoilers. We're getting to spoilers. It's from 1987. It's not like...
Yeah, if you haven't watched this, like, what am I, 35-year-old movie?
Yeah. Watch
Something like that.
So
You
anyway,
watch it by now. Also, if you haven't watched it, what are you watching this video for?
We find out that Dell's wife has been dead the entire time.
Yes.
And he has no home.
And the way they did it was actually pretty ingenious, because, like, they really plant the seeds in, like, again, not what you say, or in this case, I guess it is what you say, but not how you say it. But, like, the way they plant the seeds and how Neil kind of figures it out, like, he figures it out with us, but it's like, it's not even, like, a mystery that you feel like, or it doesn't even feel like it's a mystery to be solved until Neil puts the pieces together in his mind. And you think back to how Dell talked about his wife to him. And
on rewatches, it feels obvious.
Right. But, well, at least, well, they actually do give us the courtesy of playing some, not all of them, but some of the lines where he says it. And then you're like, oh, man.
That moment when he was like, you have a wife you can grow old with. And Dell's just like looking at him. And you just know there's something going on in his head. It's just like, fuck. It's just so brilliant. Moments that John Candy does with this character, it is so authentic. It's so good.
That plants the seed. That's the moment that I think plants the seed in the audience's mind of like, wait a minute, what? Something like you were saying. Something.
Also, the scene when he couldn't get the room with the Casio. He's outside in the cold, and he's like, "Well, Marie, I chased another person away." Stuff like that. It's just like he could be talking to himself, but he's also probably talking to up there.
Yeah, it's like, because was he looking at the picture?
No,
when he did it,
he's just sitting in the cold with the snow, and he's like, "Well, Marie, you're right." And so he started browbeating himself. It happens every time I watch it. It's when they go to when they finally get to Neil's house at the end, and Neil embraces his wife, and then they show that shot of like Dell like grasping his hat. That whole scene makes me cry. I cry. I'm getting kind of teary-eyed thinking about it. It's so just that him grabbing it, like he feels the same with. It reminds him of Marie. And he's also happy that his new friend is finally home. He feels like...
And he has a home. He has a place to be for Thanksgiving. Because he even said, he's like, I don't have a home. Because he even said, like, I haven't been home in years.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have a home to go home.
Marie was his home, yeah.
And...
But he did say he was thinking about going to Jamaica. And I was just all thinking, cool runnings.
Yo, don't you do it. Don't you start a fan theory. But you get that, and you feel that from him. Like, it's like he's got somewhere to go. He's got a family to be a part of. And, you really get this hopeful feeling of, he's gonna, Dell's gonna get back on his feet.
Yeah. And before we can close out on something, this is something that both you and me, I've seen this movie at least 20 times.
I've seen it at least 10.
At least 20 times, maybe 30. I don't know. I've seen this movie a lot. Both you and me, during this watch, discovered there was a post-credit scene.
Yes, and you want to know why I did that? Because I was going through it, and I've been doing this thing now ever since the Marvel movies, where if I'm watching, obviously if I'm at a theater, I gotta wait, but if I'm watching a movie at home, I always fast forward just to see if there is one. Because some movies do. Like, I don't know if you know this, Space Jam has a post-credit scene.
I think it's Wayne. It's Newman.
No, I believe, if I remember it correctly, it's Michael Jordan. Like he lifts up the credits screen, and like he says something. I think it was like something like "Get me out of here" or something. I don't know. But anyway, and so just for laughs, I did it, and sure enough, there is a post credit. So at the very beginning of the movie, they're at a meeting. Neil is at a meeting at his office.
With Ferris Bueller's dad.
With Ferris Bueller's dad. And I think they work for like an advertising agency.
Yeah, it's advertising.
And the head of the advertising agency is like trying to decide on what to pick. And yeah, he's just looking at it. And he's trying to decide which one to pick. And he's wasting like all this time that they could be using to go home, get their flight, what have you. And so anyway, then he leaves and you never hear of it again. You go to that post credit, and the boss is still in the office deciding which one to pick. And the beauty of it is, he doesn't make a decision.
Yeah.
It ends with him still undecided. And I was like, that is a nice little touch. And, like, it's one of those things where I'm not going to sit here and say that I made, like, some kind of discovery or anything. But I will say, I guarantee you that more people than not don't know it's there, and by watching it like this and being conditioned by the Marvel movies will probably discover it.
Yeah.
It's not the most amazing thing in the world, but when you've watched a movie so many times for so many years and you discover something like that, I think it's interesting.
But yeah. So this is like a mint Condish retrospective. Like, we actually liked the movie.
You know what?
We did the Monsters, didn't like that. We liked some of the Halloween movies.
Right.
By the way, spoiler: we don't like Halloween Ends, so we're not even. We're not gonna talk about it.
We're not gonna do that one.
We're not talking about it ever. Sucked. We did the Monsters, didn't like that. Home Alone, Sweet Home Alone, no.
But we did Home Alone 3, and we like that. So maybe the unofficial title of these kinds of videos can be Mint Condish tells you to watch.
Yeah.
And in this case, Mint Condish tells you to watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, because it's a great movie and you'll have a good time.
So watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I know this goes up on Thanksgiving Day. If you're watching this in the future, well,
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, I guess.
And stick around for our Mint Condish tells you not to watch A Christmas Story 2. No, we're not doing that. We're not watching that. Just don't watch that.
Or Christmas Vacation 2.
Yeah, that's our Mint Condish tells you not to watch. We're literally telling you, don't watch those movies. But do watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Seriously, you're going to have a good time.
And welcome home, Roscoe Jenkins. My mom loves it.